Hey, this is Bill Hauser, CEO of the S&B team, and gosh, this interview I had with John Assaraf, the leader when it comes to the neuroscience of goal achievement, went longer than expected. So this is part 2 of the interview I had with him, and you are going to learn some gems of takeaways on how to reset your mindset in 2021 and beyond. Specifically, he's going to go into 2 high-level but simple exercises you can do right now to eliminate stress, fear, and anxiety on the path to accomplishing your goals. And you'll also learn what the neuroscience behind how sometimes your biggest strengths can actually pigeonhole you and trap you. And last but not least, if you stick through to the end, you're going to learn the exact process to achieve what's called cognitive coherence, so that your goal achievement becomes effortless. And then he'll also transition at the very end of the video into the number 1 trick, okay, to increase the size of your business and the amount of money that you make from your business. And it all happens up here. So I will see you in this amazing interview that I was honored to have with the legend, John Assaraf. I have looked up to John Assaraf for 8 years, and so it's certainly amazing to have him on right now. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's built multiple, 5 multi-million-dollar companies. He's the CEO of NeuroGym. He's been interviewed on Larry King. He's been on Ellen DeGeneres show, CNN. He's been on all the major networks, and super honored to have him on.
I teach a process called inner size, which is based on all of the latest research on the brain, an emotion that is triggered in the subconscious mind that causes a feeling that you're aware of will only last 90 seconds when you do this. Instead of allowing the emotion, the energy in motion, let's say fear, any type of fear, to control you and cause you to procrastinate or sabotage, what if you learned one, then another inner size to help you calibrate your brain again? I'm going to go back to where I started with organism, nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic systems. So what if in a state of fear, doubt, anxiety, stress, uncertainty, any of the disempowering states, what if you, as slowly as you could, put your finger right here below your nostrils, and what if you breathed in as slowly as you could? Slow, 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 slow in. And then when you're breathing out through your mouth, you pretend you have a straw in your mouth and you breathe out as slowly as you can out. And you do that 6 to 10 times. The very act of breathing in deeply, slowly, and breathing out and focusing as if you're breathing out through a straw, deactivates the stress, anxiety, uncertainty, panicky centers of the brain, sympathetic nervous system, and activates the calm to respond system in the brain. Now, what if you trained yourself with a little bit of inner size every hour, at the top of every hour for 3 minutes, you stopped, you did some breathing just to get calibrated, to give your brain a rest from the stress, a rest from the anxiety, a rest from whatever it is that may be hindering you taking inspired action. And what if you did inner size number 2, which is called AYA, awareness, intention, action. And what if you just became more aware using a mindfulness technique of being aware of your thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, and behaviors without judgment, blame, shame, guilt, or justification? Why am I sharing that with you? Because when we become aware of the patterns that are habitual, whether they're thought patterns, emotional, or behavioral patterns, now we're using higher cortical functions to observe what is happening in here and in here and in your gut. And now, in a state of observation, the awareness, now I can say, what's my intention for the next 15 minutes? We set one intention, and then the A in AYA is, what's one little action step I could take towards what I want instead of doing what I'm doing or away from what I want. Now, in this state, we can observe self-image pattern. In this state, we can observe limiting beliefs. In this state, we can observe emotions. And that allows us to have choice. It's Awareness that gives us choice, and it's the choice that breaks our freedom because we become habituated to our weight set point, our relationship set point, our financial set point. Our brain gets calibrated to achieve the same goals over and over again to conserve energy and to avoid any pain or discomfort. And the other thing that can get in your way is the lack of knowledge of how to achieve your goal or skills activates that fear center. And so when you really want to achieve your goals, what you want to do is you want to create coherence between the conscious and subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is all of the old patterns that have gotten fixed to conserve energy and to keep you in a state of comfort. And you could be overweight and comfortable, miserable, but comfortable. You could be earning 100 or 200 or $500,000 a year or $1 million. And you may have goals that are bigger than that, but you are conditioned, trained, wired to achieve certain set points, just like a thermostat in your office, in your home, in your car. And so what we know from this chaos in the brain when there is a disconnect between our conscious and subconscious is called neural dissonance or chaos. So there's a part of you that wants to achieve the goal. There's another part of you that's stuck in the setting of what is. And this goes for health, wealth, relationships, career, or business. And so we can see shifting in blood flow. And when we want to achieve goals, we have to start creating neural coherence instead of triggering the fear, stress, anxiety circuit.
Question that I had, I know you probably have additional points to go through. A lot of what I'm noticing here, I see a lot of people use their quote unquote strengths as a excuse. Where's the fine line between what are your strengths versus what is your comfort zone that you must break through to reach the target?
Sure. So we all have natural strengths that we bring to the table, and we will always veer towards those natural strengths. And what I learned many years ago is strengthen your strengths, manage your weaknesses. And regardless of, whether you're in business for somebody else or you're in business, for yourself, there are ways to increase, your income and your goal achieving ability. And it all starts with obviously understanding how do I use this powerful biocomputer better so that I can focus on how I can and why I must versus why I can't. Sometimes our greatest strengths could be our greatest weaknesses also if they're used in a destructive way. And so somebody might say, one of my greatest strengths is I work really hard. I said, great, but that can also be a weakness because you're working so hard, you may not be focusing on are you working productively and smart on the things that you should be. So you have to really step back and be in a state of awareness so that you can analyze your patterns. And when I'm talking about patterns, I'm talking about thought patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns. Take some time to analyze what empowering beliefs do I have? What empowering habits do I have? Which ones are destructive? Which one are hindering me from, let's say, doubling or tripling my income when that's really possible? I work with lawyers all the time like you do, Bill, and they're so used to earning a certain amount of income that they're not thinking outside their own proverbial pattern. And so when we're talking about this inner Frankenstein, we have to understand that the vision and the goals happen in one part of the brain, but the left prefrontal cortex, the inner Frankenstein, is connected to the oldest part of our brain, which is part of our, what we call the reptilian brain, or part of our instinctual brain that's there for survival and safety above all else. And all incoming information actually passes through this part of the brain first, then the emotional brain, then we are made consciously aware of it. So it is in an opposite pattern to what most people think. So when our brain is analyzing information against our own neural patterns and map of reality and truth, if we were conditioned to believe that this is dangerous, this is not, this is what I should be doing, this is not, our brain is working automatically beneath our level of awareness. And what we have to do if we want to achieve our goals faster is we have to reset the proverbial thermostat. So if you think about your brain creates these set points for weight, income, relationship, business, success, etc. It creates set points to avoid pain, to stay in a comfort zone, to be able to conserve energy. And anytime you try to break through those set points, this triggers our brain to go into a stress response mode. So I'll show you exactly how to overcome that if I can, Bill. What we want to do is start to create neural coherence. So instead of chaos, when we have our goals that don't match our subconscious conditioning, we want to take the conscious goals that we choose and we want to impress them into the subconscious mind. And I'm going to share with you a couple of techniques to do that. So you want to create a new set point that you want. So think about this. You didn't have any beliefs. You didn't have any set points in your brain when you were born. You developed those. And then it goes from conscious to subconscious patterns. So what beliefs would you need to have in order to achieve the goals that you want? How will you recalibrate, whether it's your weight set point or your income set point? How do you manage the emotions of doubt, fear, anger, resentment, shame, guilt? And how do you manage those things? Most of us have never been taught how to be aware of emotions and then manage them. How do you calibrate your self-esteem, self-worth, self-image to match the goal that you want? And then how do you develop new habits? There's a part of our brain that is part of the deepest recesses of our brain called the striatum, which is connected to our hippocampus, the memory centers of our brain. And our striatum is where our habit neural patterns reside. So we choose goals from this part of our brain, but our habits are in a deeper part of our limbic system, the habitual part of our brain. And if we don't recalibrate our habits to match the vision and goals that we have, then we have this neural chaos and dissonance where we set goals and we don't achieve them. Now, I want everybody to write this thing down that I'm going to share with you right now, because this is the game changer for you. It takes between 66 days to 365 days to reset this part of the brain. Not 1 day, not 7 days, not 21 days, not 38 days, 66 to 365 days. Let's take you back to how long did it take you to learn math? How long did it take you to learn the language that you speak dominantly? How long did it take you to learn how to walk? It didn't take a day or two or three. And the reason is it takes conscious effort with spaced repetition in order to create patterns that go into this part of the brain. And so repetition is what's necessary in order to create a new pattern. So we could take a language pattern, we can repeat it, we can visualize it, we can imagine it, we can act upon it. And if we do it for at least 66 days to 365 days with commitment, we start to reset, recalibrate the subconscious mind. And so here is something that I want you to create if you are serious and committed to achieving your goals. So, and again, I'm trying to do this in 20 minutes. I'm at 28 right now. That's why I'm going so fast. So the first thing you do is you start with conscious creation of your vision, your goals, whether it's affirmations, declarations, promises. And then every day I have, for example, on my desk, my Exceptional Life Blueprint, which is based on a coaching program I do, where I have all of this written down in my blueprint. I also record it onto my iPhone and I listen to it every day. I read it every single day. I then close my eyes. And you may have heard this before, but visualization is simulation. And when we start to see ourselves achieving that goal, when we start to see ourselves believing whatever declarations or promises we make to ourselves, and we start to imagine it using the occipital lobe and the imagination centers of our brain, we start to create and reinforce a new neural pattern based on what it is that we want to believe, what it is that we want to achieve. And then when we take small little action steps daily, a little bit each day towards that goal, we actually reduce the resistance. We shut down the Frankenstein part of our brain that is focusing on conservation of energy, but also focusing on keeping us in our comfort zone. And when we create a new money, business, life story, and we have accountability, which I'll talk to you in a moment, and you retrain your brain daily with exercises, which I'll show you one of them right now. Here's an example of a well-crafted language pattern that's a new business or money story. Every one of us has a story about our life, our health, our wealth, why we're achieving the results we're achieving, why we're not. Well, what if You deliberately created a new business, money, or life story. And what if every day you read it, every day you felt it, every day you took a little inspired action towards that? Think about this. If you were a Hollywood actor or actress and somebody came to you and gave you this script right here that you never saw before and say, listen, I'll pay you $1 million to rehearse, practice, become this script. How many times would you read it? How many times would you practice? How much research would you do to the incantations and the tonality to be able to do this script without having it in front of you so that you can get in front of a camera and be the script? This is the science of breaking the habit of being yourself and creating a new paradigm, a new vision, a new emotional relationship with the vision and goals that you have. So when you take a new money story or life story where you start off with, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I am now achieving my goals of blank, 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 and blank, and it feels so good. I am feeling the best I've ever felt in my life. What if you wrote a new story and then every day for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, you practice that story just like a Hollywood actor, actresses practices his or her roles to become the role. That is what it takes to deliberately and consciously evolve yourself. So instead of being a victim of the past, you now recreate a new story first, and then you live into that story. And so a lot of this is based on the latest scientific research. This is not airy-fairy stuff. And there are a variety of different methods to impress this into your subconscious mind using what I call our inner sizes. So exercise for your body, inner size for your brain, and then you learn how to manage the emotions so that when that Frankenstein part of the brain activates and causes you to want to sabotage your success or not be motivated, you know some techniques to overcome those. And then when you put this all together and you create your vision, your goals, and your why, you develop the beliefs, the emotions, the self-image, and the new habits that match the goals. That is what causes coherence. It's what every astronaut has learned how to do, what every Navy SEAL has learned how to do, what every Olympic athlete learns how to do, is create this coherence so that conscious goals and visions and why match the subconscious beliefs, emotions, self-image, and habits. Anything less than that means you're in a state of neural dissonance or chaos. And once you start to practice this, you go from conscious competence to unconscious competence. And practice is what makes permanent. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, but practice makes permanent.